Welcome back, horror fans, to the Weird Kid Horror Show. I am your host, the Weird Kid. So today we are continuing with the Exploring Horror Host segment, and I welcome you, Dr. Gangrene, a horror host that hails from the Nashville area. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I hope you enjoy listening. So we'll see you after. Ladies and gentlemen, here we have Dr. Gangrene. Welcome to the Weird Kid Horror Show.
Thank you very much. I'm out of costume today, so here on set, talking about shooting the show, having a little morning coffee here.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock in Nashville. Right now you hail from the Nashville area, correct?
That's correct.
Do you want to give your alias name, or is it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Tell everyone your name and...
I'm Larry Underwood, AKA Dr. Gangrene. Been doing my show here in the Nashville area for, this is my 20th anniversary this year.
20 years. Wow. That's commitment.
Yeah, started it in, the first show aired July 1st, 1999.
Okay, but before we get into that, let's back up. I like to ask everyone I interview, going back to your childhood, what is it that I like to say corrupted you?
Sure.
What was it you were watching or reading or experiencing that put you on this path that you're on now?
You know, I don't think there's any one thing, but a few of the things that definitely influenced me early on would be there was an afternoon TV show called The Big Show in our area, and they showed all of the Universal stuff. So I remember coming home after school, turning TV on, and they would do these theme weeks. Like it would be a week of Frankenstein movies, and they would show all the Frankenstein, or a week of Creature movies. So I remember those real clearly. I remember of course, in the afternoons, they also showed Addams Family and the Munsters and all that stuff. So I was getting fed a steady diet of all of that. And in our area, we also had a horror host named Sir Cecil Creep. And I didn't really get to watch his show. My mom wouldn't really let me stay up and watch his show, even though it only came on at 10:30, but still, she didn't really let me watch it. But I saw all the promos and was really influenced by him, and also met the guy once. So.
Nice. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I think I watched something where you were a Boy Scout, from what I understand, and he was endorsing something, an event or something for the Boy Scouts.
He was. Hang on, let me grab something here. He was doing a appearance with the Boy Scouts for what they called Sir Cecil's Ghoul Patrol, and it was thing where they were giving out merit badges or patches rather. I don't know if you can see that. I sewed it on my lab coat. I kept it from when I was a kid. This is Sir Cecil's Ghoul Patrol. It's these patches that they gave to the kids at the event.
Nice.
And so yeah, I sewed that onto my lab coat there, kind of as a tribute to Sir Cecil Creep.
Well, I think it's very cool that you held on to it for all these years. And
well, my mom had actually sewn all of those patches that I got on the back of a blue jean jacket that I had. This black jean jacket that had all the patches on the back, and my brother also. So I actually have two. I have mine and my brother's.
Yeah. Very cool. So were you a monster kid as far as did you get into like the Aurora monster model kits and like the monster toys and figures and books and magazines? Is that something did you collect?
You know, I did not really so much. I had a friend that had all the model kits, and I was really envious of him. He had the glow-in-the-dark ones and the regular ones and all that. And I remember going to his house and seeing that stuff and going, oh, man, that's super cool. I didn't really even buy the magazines, to be honest with you. I was a comic book nerd, so I was really into comic books. So that was kind of my path into nerddom, was through that. But I was always a big horror fan, and my mom and grandmother, I think, were a little worried about me because I was always like drawn right to that stuff. My grandmother lived behind, like 2 doors down from the library, and so I would come home after school and stay at her house in the afternoons and walk up to the library. And I think I checked out every book on the occult and horror and anything monsterish that I could find there. I think she kind of raised an eyebrow about that.
The making of a monster kid.
Right.
Yeah. But you mentioned comic books. So from what I understand, if I understand correctly, before you got into horror hosting, you were involved with the comic book series.
So I was an independent publisher. So I starting out early in life, I wanted to illustrate comics. That was my dream job. That's what I wanted to do. And so myself and a guy named Chuck Angel we actually met going back a little bit at a summer class that Joe Kubert, the comic book artist, was doing this. Joe Kubert School of Cartooning and Graphic Design was going around, and they came to Nashville for a week-long seminar on comic book art and writing. And so we met there, and we'd get together over the next summer. There was a little group of us in Nashville that got together, and we would sort of just inspire each other. We would, write little scripts, and I would illustrate Chuck's, or Chuck would illustrate mine, or Chuck's brother Mark would write something and I would draw it, or vice versa. And so we all were just sort of working together, sort of building the craft, learning our craft. And then at some point, Chuck and I started our own company, and we called it Out of the Cellar Comics at first, and put out a couple of books. Actually published Eric Powell's from the Goon. Actually published the very first thing he ever did was for us. And then we later changed it to Volunteer Comics, since we're in the volunteer state, and did a handful of titles. Put out a handful of books under that title.
Nice. That's very cool. And then what was the, let's call it the burning bush, to where, hey, I'm going to horror host?
So that transition kind of came when my youngest son was born. So after Luke was born, I just kind of, did not have time to be writing and drawing. As you know, it's super time, I mean, it takes hundreds of hours to do books. I mean, sitting down and writing and drawing all those panels. I just didn't have time to do it. And so I just kind of stopped doing everything for a year and a half or so. My wife and I moved here to Hendersonville to this house, and I met a guy who was doing a cable access show, a guy named Jack Wood, who was doing a show called The Static Show. And it just so turns out that he lives about a block from me, right up the road. And I was asking him questions because I was curious about it. I had actually, back in the 80s, looked into public access TV. I went to a meeting one time that the guys were having there. I was kind of curious how it worked, and toyed with the idea of doing an access show back then in my head, but never followed through with it. And so skip forward another decade, and I meet Jack, and he said, I can tell you're thinking about doing this, aren't you? And I kind of wasn't really, but I guess in the back of my mind I was, maybe. And I said, I don't know. He said, you should give it a try. I think you'd be good at it. And here we are 20 years later. I'm still doing it.
20 years later. But not just you, from where you are one of the few fortunate horror hosts as well, because the mass majority of horror hosts now are stuck with strictly public domain films. There was a point in time where you as well were hosting licensed properties, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I started on public access in Hendersonville, and then moved it to Nashville because, just so much more bigger market there. And then after about 3 to 4 years, first I put some stuff on our local WB station. First was UPN. First on our local UPN station, I bought some late night commercial time. And I think they were charging me something like $50 a month at that time. It wasn't much. And I was on it, I think, 2 or 3 in the morning, really late. And so I did that for a few months and then stopped. Being a new parent, I had 3 kids at this point, newly married, and just bought a house. Wasn't making much money with my job at the point. I just really didn't have much discretionary income at all at that point. So even that was a strain. So I stopped doing that, and then about a year later, reached out to our WB station, and it just so happens that the guy that runs that station used to do the playback on the UPN station, and he said, I know who you are. I used to do your playback. Dude, I love your show. Come in, let's talk. And they had a package of films at that time that they said, yes, we'll definitely would love to put you on the air. And we have this package of films. We'll let you host. And there were some great titles in there, you know.
Total Recall. I think Total Recall was one of them, possibly.
Right. Total Recall and The House that Dripped Blood. I did some real schlocky stuff like Future Force and Future Zone and Space Mutiny, and but some good stuff too. Dreamscape, Bruiser, the George Romero movie. Yeah, just different stuff. It was cool because they would send me a list of what was available that month, and I would get to kind of flip through it and say, yeah, okay, I want this, this, and this, and they would send it to me.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that I was having you happen to know someone we know, a mutual friend, Count Gordeval from Washington D.C. Another one that's been in the almost coming up on 50 years.
Yeah, he's great.
And we had a conversation about exactly what a horror host does. And I'll say, like, probably one of the worst B movies, public domain films out there, it's got to be Giant Leeches. Let's just use that one as a title. Now, for me to sit down and watch Giant Leeches as a standalone movie with no interruptions, it's deplorable. It's absolutely horrible. But gentlemen like yourself and Count Duvall, and here in Florida we used to have Dr. Paul Bear, you supplement it and make it enjoyable, because we know that you're going to come out and present the film, do your campy slapstick, introduce the film, talk about a little behind the scenes about the film. We're going to get into the film, and although it's bad, we also know that you're going to interrupt it and talk more about it. It makes it enjoyable. It really makes it enjoyable, and I can really clearly see exactly how much horror hosting is ingrained in pop culture today.
Well, appreciate that. I personally, I do, and I do agree with you. I think the horror hosts definitely add a lot to the presentation. The thing about the public domain movies is, to me, not that they're bad so much as they're overplayed. I mean, people have seen them over and over. I actually really like the Giant Leeches and would sit down and watch it unedited. And as a matter of fact, I don't watch a lot of hosted stuff, to be honest with you. I watch a little bit. I watch Svengoolie occasionally, and I watch the Joe Bob stuff when it comes on, but that's pretty much it. I do watch those movies, though. Like if I'm watching Comet TV, and one of these, like a matter of fact, I watched The Brain That Wouldn't Die the other. I actually watched The Manster on there recently too.
Oh, Manster, yeah.
Yeah. I just personally, I really do like these movies and think that there's a sincerity to these movies. You know, these guys were trying to make the best movie they could make. They really were. There were faults. Most of the times it was budget. Maybe they didn't have the best actors in the world. A lot like independent films today. You know, they're doing the best they can with the budget and resources that they have. And that's the way I feel about a lot of those public domain movies. And I think that shows through with my hosting also, is that I really do adore a lot of these movies and you know, want to share them.
That's a very positive way of looking at it too. Yeah, it is true. You know, a film, sort of like Giant Leeches with the practical effects they use. Well, I like to use the term cheesy and charming, because they have a charm to them. You mentioned Manster. I remember watching that film as a kid, and when he pulled his shirt down in the mirror and saw that little eyeball looking back at him, you could clearly see that, you know, times have changed as far as practical effects and their appliances and how we do things. It still managed to scare me, though. It was still very effective, and but there again, I think to me, the film is more enjoyable with gentlemen like yourself. I didn't have a horror host when I was a kid growing up. We had Creature Double Feature, which aired on Channel 56 out of Boston, and it showed 2 back-to-back films, and it was a creepy announcer that announced the films. I absolutely loved that. I was glued. You could not get me out of the house until I watched my 2 Creature Double Feature films. But it wasn't until I moved to Florida, and saw Dr. Paul Bearer and knew about Elvira and, of course, Joe Bob Briggs. Am I saying that correctly? Joe Bob Briggs.
Yeah.
That I realized that, there's a little bit of more of a broader horizon as far as, and then, of course, when the internet really started to take hold, I really wanted to explore this. And now looking at it, I'm absolutely amazed how many horror hosts there were and are now.
Sure. When you say you watched Dr. Paul Bearer, was that the Dick Bennett Paul Bearer you're talking about, the original Paul Bearer?
Yeah, yes, the original, yes. Yep.
He was so good. I love that guy. I mean, everything about his voice, the set, the shtick he would do, he was great.
What I would like to do is I want somebody in California that wants to know who Dr. Gangrene is and will come and seek you to watch. Nobody should be bored because there's enough out there to where you could probably watch a different host every single day of the week, and then come Saturday night watch the whole new run for the week. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, technology is the reason. You were mentioning the explosion of hosts, and that's absolutely, the reason it's so much easier now. I'm shooting with a webcam right here that is shooting at 1080p, streaming live on the internet, which none of this was available. When I started my show, I was editing between 2 VCRs. I mean, I used a 3/4 inch deck at one point. I mean, it's just technology is evolving. It's evolved fast, and now with the internet, and it just opens up all kinds of options. Internet, Roku, all kinds of things. So absolutely, I get emails from viewers, and I'm back on cable access now, and they have a Roku channel. I get emails from people in other states and other countries, saying, "Hey, we watched your show and love it." So that's exactly what you're talking about.
That's awesome. So is there if somebody, a viewer like myself, or somebody, they wanted a Dr. Gangrene T-shirt or say an autograph or something, is there merchandising available?
I've got a little bit of stuff. They can come to my website, drgangrene.com, and they can find some of that there. I've got some T-shirts right now, and always happy to send off autographed pictures or whatever. Just people can hit me up there.
Okay. Because like I said, I'm in the description. I'm going to put your website, and the channel, the ways that your YouTube channel. I'm going to direct people to come check you out. I'm going to encourage them to check you out, so that's awesome. But so what's the next step? Where are you heading now? Which direction is the show going now?
So with the show being back on Nashville's, it's the Arch Channel 9. In Nashville, there are public access channel of Nashville has called NECAT, stands for Nashville Education Community Access Television, NECAT. And they have 3 channels, which is the public access channel, an Arch channel, and education channel. And they've got me on the Arch channel Saturday nights at 9 from 9 to 11. So my show airs live each week on that channel, and they simulcast it on both their website and the Roku channel. So viewers outside of Nashville can watch on the Roku channel. Just search for NECAT, or they can go to necatnetwork.org, which is the website, and watch it there online if they prefer to do that. For the show right now, it's just to keep this going and have some fun with it. I'm showing both public domain films and independent films, and really enjoying finding some of those independent producers and directors out there who've made features that I can share with people, because I really think there's a lot of creativity going on in the independent world. Again, they don't have the resources of the big companies, and that
Right.
forces them to get really creative. And I think a lot of times some real magic comes out of that. You get some fun, really fun and entertaining films because that lack of resources forces you to become creative.
When you have no money, you have to think outside the box. So saying that, I would think that somebody with an independent film that wants it seen could approach you and it would get seen.
Sure.
Which is, I think is, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe the purpose of making a film is so that it's seen.
Right.
You know, none
And
of
I
us are making
understand,
money.
I understand producers' concerns though about, I put all this time and effort into it, and I want to make sure I control my copyright, and so I get those concerns as well. But we always license a one-time view of the showing of the movie, and are real careful with making sure that the producers understand, hey, I'm licensing. Showing this one time, I'm not reselling it. You own the rights 100%. All this is you allowing me to show the movie, on the air. So, but I do get those concerns. They are legitimate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I love the set. I think I said that earlier on before we started this video. It looks like you put a lot of effort and time into that, but from what I understand, you have more than one section that is your set. Is that correct?
Well, with this one, this is it for now. Although I'm about to build a different set as well. I'm kind of gathering pieces and parts. I went and bought something off. It was actually the Facebook Marketplace. I went and met this woman and bought something from her just this weekend. So I'm going to put a second one together. This is it right now. Like I said, when I moved my set indoors to the house, inside the house, kind of put this new set together. So this is it for now, but there'll be more coming.
Okay. Awesome. And what's coming this week? You wanna give a plug there, or?
Well, this week, tonight's show actually got bumped. Unfortunately, I got a phone call from the station yesterday. They had a producer who passed away, and so they're bumping everybody's shows, and they're going to run over the entire weekend a marathon of this producer's shows. So I was disappointed, but totally understood. I mean, it's unfortunate, but so it was going to be the Wasp Woman, and it'll be running next week.
Okay.
And it's a double feature of The Wasp Woman and a little independent movie called The Human Being, Being, which is a Wasp Woman tribute independent short film that I first discovered way back in I think it was 2002 when I was doing my original cable access run before the CW stuff. I reached out to this filmmaker. I found him online somehow and reached out to him. A guy named Colin Plank is the director, and the rights weren't available. But when I started this new show back up, reached out to him again and was able to work out a deal to be able to show it this time. So I'm real excited because it's a great little short film. It pairs up perfectly with The Wasp Woman. I'm showing a music video from a band from the UK called the Polyesters. That's a Wasp Woman music video. So it all ties together. There's a lot of goodies packed into this.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it should be.
Nice variety of content there. So, okay. But is there any way that are people able to, is there an archive where they could watch past?
Yeah, on the NECAT website, necatnetwork.org. If you go to the Arts channel and click the calendar, you can go back through the calendar and they're all on demand. So you can watch all the old episodes on demand there.
So, although tonight's show has been pushed, they can still go and watch a show.
So now that show will not be on demand. That was one of the requirements I worked out with the guy from the director of the Human Being. He did not want me to put that episode on demand. I was totally fine with that. So that one will air one time only. I'm going to repackage it, re-edit it, and put it back out a second time later this summer with a different second feature, but the one that has the human being in it will only run live one time next week.
Yeah, fair enough. That's
And
fair enough.
I totally understand that, because it's his film. He's selling copies of it and doesn't want to, have me streaming it for free, on my website. And so
Right.
totally cool. That's,
It's very understandable. So I'm encouraging viewers to go to the cable access channel, watch one of your past episodes, and then next week they come next Saturday night to watch this main event.
be great. Love to have you.
And in the meantime, I'm going to provide links to all your media, and encourage people to go and check out your merchandise. Maybe pick up a T-shirt or an autograph. I would like an autograph, though. Actually,
Sure thing.
I'm starting a collection, and I'm really enjoying this, and I really appreciate you and what you do. And I know that it takes a lot of commitment, knowing, because I'm an independent filmmaker. You're an independent artist as well. We don't get paid to do this stuff. We do it out of a labor of love. So if somebody can go and pick up a T-shirt or something here and there, it helps a lot. Especially when you got 3 kids.
Well, they're all grown now, so
Yeah.
Although a couple of them still live here, but they're not little anymore. It's been 20 years now, so yeah. They're all getting up there, but it definitely still, it's always appreciated. I just appreciate as much as anything, people just reaching out and sending me a positive comment like that. It means the world to me to know that people watch the show and appreciate what you're doing. That they see the effort and the work, and they take the time out of their schedule to write and say, "Hey, I dig what you do." That means a lot. It really does.
That's awesome. Yep, and that's true. I appreciate you doing this interview with your busy schedule and taking the time to talk to me.
Well, thank you for inviting me to chat. I've had a good time. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll be reaching out, because as I got something in the works, and I'll be in touch. We'll hash out some details here.
Okay, sounds good.
All righty. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
You too. Stay mad.
I hope you enjoyed that, guys, as much. I really enjoyed talking to Dr. Gangrene. Really nice guy. Has been at it for a long time. And the thing that I really like is how much horror hosting has evolved. Once upon a time, it was just you were on a local network covering a certain area, and you were given licenses to show certain films, usually licensed properties. Well, then when that seemed to have died down and it took to the internet, now we've got horror hosts all over the place, and it's expanded. It's not just the public domain films, but now it's given independent films an opportunity to solicit to these horror hosts to get their films seen, and I think that's fantastic. You got to get your film seen. It's so much work to make a film, and it's kind of pointless when nobody sees it. You send it to a film festival, you might get into the film festival, but usually only that little group of people is going to get to see it. If you want it out there, approach people like Dr. Gangrene and submit your film to him. Maybe it'll get seen by a wide range of people. So I appreciate you guys. Keep coming back. I've got so much going on here. We've got another interview that's coming up, and I'm gonna start hitting them props pretty hard. I just got a new camera. Please tell me how I look, how you think it. We're working on building a little set for the show. Santa Claus came early. I had somebody sent me an expensive light kit, and I couldn't believe it. And I can't figure out who had done it. So I'm eternally grateful to you guys. I'll keep working hard. I'll keep trying to do the best I can to entertain you, to build props and show you how you can build them too, and kind of find as many interesting people that we can talk to for interviews and whatever other shenanigans I can get into. So if you haven't done so already, like and subscribe. hit the bell. It's going to inform you when I upload another video. And there's so much coming. I'm here to stay. So until next time, guys, I appreciate you. Peace.